In this video, I'm going to show you everything you want to know about the Minisforum Atomman G7 PT, a compact but surprisingly large mini PC that packs some serious power. But does it actually live up to the hype? Can it handle gaming, video editing and all-around daily tasks without breaking a sweat? And more importantly, is it worth your money? Well, I've been testing it and I've got a lot to say, so let's get into it. Inside the box, we've got the PC itself, a quick start guide, a 300 watts power adapter here, 300 watts, which is kind of crazy for a mini PC, plus an HDMI cable and a power cable and a magnetic stand. And this isn't your typical bare-bones setup. This model comes fully loaded with 32 gigs of RAM and 1TB SSD. But if you're into upgrading, there's a bare-bones version too. Now, design-wise, the G7 PT hits a nice balance between sleek and functional. It's noticeably larger than most mini PCs, about the size of two Steam Decks stacked together, but that extra size isn't wasted. You get better cooling, more ports, a trade-off many users will gladly make. Speaking of cooling, there are plenty of vents, but here's the clever bit: the magnetic stand. It's metal, it's sturdy, and it locks in with zero wobble. No cheap plastic clips, just a simple, well-executed design choice. And yeah, you'll want to use that stand because the main vents are on the bottom and sides. Lying it flat could restrict airflow and impact cooling performance. The port selection is excellent, with USB-A and USB-C on the front, along with a mode switch, dual microphones and a headphone jack. Around the back you'll find DisplayPort 2.0, HDMI 2.1, another USB-C with DisplayPort Alt mode, 3 additional USB-A ports, 2.5 gig Ethernet, mic line, line out and your power connections. So the port selection here is solid with plenty of USB options. The only real downside, no USB 4, which might be a deal breaker for some of you. And while the build quality is solid, the plastic chassis doesn't quite match the premium feel of all metal alternatives. Power it on and the first thing you notice is the RGB lighting. It's a full-on tribute to Legend of Asaku series from 1989 with glowing logos and cycling colors. Cool at first, but honestly, I kind of wish it wasn't there. Now, there's no way to customize it. Fortunately, if you're not a fan, you can turn it off in the BIOS. Setup is quick and easy with Windows 11 Pro installing in about 15 minutes. However, you'll need a wired keyboard and mouse for the initial setup, which isn't a deal breaker, but it's worth noting. If you've been researching this mini PC, you probably already know the highlights. It's powered by the Ryzen 9 7945HX, a 16-core 32-thread processor that boosts up to 5.4 GHz. It's paired with an AMD Radeon RX 7600M XT GPU featuring 8 gigs of GDDR6 VRAM. The model I'm testing comes with 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM, which is upgradable to 96 gigs. And a 1TB PCIe 5.0 SSD with room for expansion thanks to dual M2 slots. In terms of connectivity, you'll get Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4 and multiple high bandwidth display outputs. But one omission is mentioned earlier, USB 4, which might be a deal breaker for those needing Thunderbolt support. Cooling is where Minisforum really stepped up. The dual fan system, separate CPU and GPU heat pipes, and liquid cooling make a huge difference. In Cinebench R23, the CPU scored 31200 points in multi-core and 1922 in single-core, which is excellent for a compact system. Running Geekbench 6, we've got 2907 for single-core and 16020 for multi-core in normal mode, while in performance mode, the single-core score slightly dropped to 2884, but the multi-core score rose to 16100. This minor variation is due to how the system dynamically manages power and thermals. Performance mode pushes the CPU harder overall, but normal mode slightly prioritizes efficiency, resulting in better single-core stability. For GPU test in Geekbench 6 OpenCL, the Radeon RX scored 82,862 in normal mode and 83,561 in performance mode, showing that while performance mode unlocks a bit more potential, the difference isn't night and day. During both benchmarking and gaming tests, the GPU and CPU temperatures stayed under 75 Celsius, even when running in performance mode. Pretty impressive. The thermal camera also reveals that the heat coming out of the vents stays below 47 degrees Celsius, which is a good sign. Now, as for noise levels, in normal mode it's around 38 decibels, about the same as a quiet whisper. When switched to performance mode, it climbs to around 43-44 decibels, which is similar to the sound of a quiet library. Noticeable, but not intrusive. Alright, let's talk gaming. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Starting at 1080p with AMD Adrenaline's Hyper RX mode enabled, I cranked everything to Ultra. Instant crash. Even unbalanced, it still crashed. The culprit, ray tracing. This mini PC struggles with it, but the good news, you don't need it. Resetting to recommended settings, 1080p on high graphics runs buttery smooth. Textures look sharp, shader quality solid, and we're hitting around 160 FPS. Even during long sessions, temps stay in check, under 68 degrees Celsius on the GPU and 80 Celsius on the CPU. And here's the bonus! Super Resolution Upscaling automatically bumps the image up to 2K with minimal performance loss, making everything look even sharper while keeping FPS high. A similar story with Black Ops 6, tried 2K natively, instant crash, but at 1080p with high settings upscaled to 2K, flawless. Starfield runs around 50 FPS outdoors, 170 FPS indoors, and even hit 200 FPS in space battles at 1080p on medium graphics. At 2K, frame rates drop by half as expected, but performance mode squeezed out every bit of power. In Forza Horizon 5, pushed it to ultra setting at 1080p, smooth 120 plus FPS. Switched to 2K Ultra, still holding 85 to 95 FPS. CPU usage is around 25%, GPU stays cool at 60 degrees Celsius, but then low VRAM warning. The 8 gigs of VRAM is the limit here, so for 2K gaming, medium to high settings are the sweet spot. Mafia Definitive Edition at 2K high graphics equals 120 FPS, peaking at 140 FPS, dropping to 1080p Ultra over 180 FPS. Assassin's Creed Valhalla follows suit, solid 2K, even better at 1080p with Radeon upscaling. This thing absolutely crushes 1080p gaming, and with upscaling you can push 2K or even 4K depending on your display. Native 2K totally doable in most games, but here's the catch, VRAM is limited and ray tracing not really an option, so for the best experience stick to high graphics settings instead of ultra and you're golden. With 16 cores and 32 threads, this thing shreds through video editing. In DaVinci Resolve, scrubbing through 4K footage is smooth with minimal dropped frames. Now, for context, I usually edit on Mac with Final Cut Pro, and compared to my M1 iMac, this thing holds up surprisingly well. It's slightly slower when you start layering multiple graded clips, but if you're working in 4K and exporting to MP4, it's absolutely up to the task. I actually edited the intro of this very video on this PC. If I were more fluent in DaVinci Resolve, I would probably get through it even faster, but the takeaway is, this is a totally capable machine for the content creation. If you're a beginner or even a mid-level editor, you won't have any issues. For video editing, I'm giving it 8 out of 10. Great performance for the price, perfect for light to moderate editing, but if you're deep into professional workloads, you might start hitting some bottlenecks. So bottom line, is the Atomman G7 PT a solid daily driver? For gaming, absolutely. 1080p performance is buttery smooth and 2K is totally doable on medium settings. Just don't expect ultra settings to hold up across every title, especially with ray tracing. It's best left off. For video editing, yes, the Ryzen 9 and Radeon combo handles it well, but if your workflow relies on CUDA acceleration, you might miss NVIDIA's edge. For office work and general productivity, overkill. in the best way. This thing is built to last for years before feeling outdated. Thermals solid, even under load CPU and GPU temps stay in check, and the dual fan cooling system keeps things quiet, maxing out around 44 decibels. Just make sure to use the included stand for optimal airflow. Build quality? Functional. The plastic chassis might not feel ultra premium, but the design is practical and the magnetic stand is a smart touch. Ports? Plenty, including dual display port, HDMI 2.1, and multiple USB-A and USB-C options. The main downside? No USB 4. If Thunderbolt support matters to you, that's something to consider. RGB, it's there. You can't customize it, but you can turn it off in BIOS if it's not your thing. Overall, I would rate this mini PC a 9 out of 10. At around $1,200 US, it's a strong alternative to pricier options like the G70i I showed you a couple of weeks ago. The only things that might turn some people off: the larger size, gamer-centric design, and the somewhat unusual RGB lighting. But it's Linux compatible, which is a plus for some users. If you're interested, I've got links in the description for both Amazon and Minisforum's websites, so feel free to check them out. Even if you've already seen the other reviews, I hope you found that extra 1% of info you were looking for here. Coming up next, I'm checking out a new gaming controller from EasySMX, the DO5, and in a couple of weeks I'll have the Minisforum UM890 Pro and UN1250. Plus, there's another interesting one coming, the Ace Magic Vista Mini V1. Honestly, I'm curious about that one myself. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. I'll see you in the next one.